Welcome, everybody. We are back. College Basketball Roundtable, the final one of the season, the National Championship edition. I'm here with my panel. Guys, it's a little bittersweet. Our final College Basketball Roundtable. We'll recap the season a little bit later, but it's the National Championship. We're breaking it down. Welcome to everyone out there watching. As always, we offer and invite. Please send in your questions. We'll get to them as well. Ed Feng, welcome. How you doing?
I'm great, man. How you doing?
Doing well. Excited to get your opinion here today. Donnie Rightside, welcome.
Hey, doing good, big man. Just, excited about this game. We've talked about it all year long. So many people in the round table here. I'm glad Gonzaga got there. I just wanted to see an opponent on the opposite side that would be able to test them and be, more athletic or possibly more athletic. It's going to be a great game, whether or not you wager on the game or not. I'm really looking forward to it.
Ian Cameron, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, guys. This is the end, dear panel friends. You know what? It's going to be sad to see this college basketball roundtable come to an end, but we've got a great game to talk about. I mean, Gonzaga, North Carolina, the powerhouse blue blood North Carolina against Gonzaga. I think a power in basketball the last decade, but you still consider them a mid-major, so to speak, the smaller school, trying to knock off North Carolina. Great storyline for a championship game.
Amen. Drew Martin, welcome. How you doing today?
I'm doing good, big man. Yeah, it is kind of a sad day with college basketball ending, but we got a great game tonight and MLB opening day, and we got to start this up again for Major League Baseball.
Drew looking very relaxed, refreshed today. What's up with that, Drew? Drew's in new digs. Look at that. Drew, you're not just teleporting in there. What's up with this?
No, I'm I lost the jacket and the green screen.
Yeah. I don't see any numbers behind you, and you got a nice little weed plant behind you there. Nice.
I'm not so sure that that's a weed plant.
I know.
But I'm actually down here in Costa Rica at the SBR offices. It's really nice here. They got a nice office, about 70 or 80 people. Really nice get up here. Recommend all of you guys coming down.
Drew, I hope someday I can do what it is you do and live like you someday. I often dream and fantasize about it, but I just haven't gotten there yet. Welcome. Good for you.
All it takes is a plane ticket, big man. That's
sure,
it.
I know. All right, let's get into it. Without further ado, guys, and please send in your questions. We'd love to hear from you here. But yeah, very bittersweet, guys. We had fun doing this all year. I'm hoping we can do it for all sports. We've had fun, and let's get into it because there's a lot to talk about. We'll break down this game in depth every way possible. Also, a little bit later, we'll just recap the tournament, kind of our highs and lows of the tournament, and kind of get you involved as well. But you look at this line, guys, and we're hosted by uwager.eu. Head on over there, get all your sports betting done. Great book, and they're actually hanging pick'em right now in this game. A wide variety of lines in this one, guys. You look at 5 dimes, Carolina -1. Bet online, pick, uwager, pick. This one's hanging around a pick 'em. Little bit of movement here coming in. Actually, a lot of movement coming in on Gonzaga. This one opened 2. A lot of money coming in on the Zags. First of all, guys, I'll start with Ed because I'm interested to hear your kind of where you had this number. I know other guys have had the number in Gonzaga's favor. I know you have it in the Gonzaga's favor. What's your number? What did you have it at?
It's basically 51% Gonzaga win probability. I mean, it's like 0.2 points. I mean, it's essentially a pick 'em what I have. It's been interesting to me. Some of the other numbers guys have Gonzaga as more of a favorite, 62%, 2 points. I just think that kind of ignores the talent level of North Carolina. By the numbers this year, Gonzaga has outperformed North Carolina, but I think you got to consider more things. I think you have to consider the type of talent that North Carolina has. I think Justin Jackson's NBA stock is rapidly rising with the defense he's played in this tournament. And, since the beginning of the tournament, I thought that North Carolina was the best team in this field. I don't think it's a lot over Gonzaga. I think Gonzaga is a better shooting team, which is that's something that they're going to need to shoot well tonight to win. But it's a close contest, and it's it's interesting that it opened up at 2 and coming back to pick. I think that makes sense to me. I think it may close a pick or 1 in favor of North Carolina.
Yeah, and look, again, we've talked about it. SBR preaches it. Everyone at SBR makes it a point to talk about. And we're going to make it a point to talk about. Listen, obviously go out and get the best line possible. I mean, the best of it is out there. All you have to do is look. And obviously it would probably be in your best interest. And I'm not going to tell you what to do, but having a variety of books is obviously something you want to do. But yeah, I mean, if you like Gonzaga, I mean, you can get that one out there. Again, it's kind of they kind of basically need to win. But again, I mean, if it falls on a 1-point game, which it could possibly fall on a 1-point game, you don't lose. So you're getting a little, value. But guys, who Donnie, I know you're a big line guy. You like to look at who's betting the game, which I think we can agree here. I mean, I'm not sure it matters a whole hell of a lot because I think there's going to be a lot of money on each side. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, opening up, if you took a look at the opening wager, most areas there had -2 North Carolina, which we sort of figured on. Jeff, me and you talked about in the past. We saw some previous opening lines from different books around 2.5. It ended up opening at 2. The one thing that surprised me right away on that is more tickets opened up initially on Gonzaga there versus a true blue blood program, which everybody knows as UNC. Now, it looks like today there has been a little bit of shift in tickets going from North Carolina over to Gonzaga and then back and forth again. North Carolina now showing 53% of the tickets, as yesterday Gonzaga was pulling down a little bit more of the tickets. Slightly more money coming in on Gonzaga at 54%, which is why you've seen that you pointed out as well. This line is bouncing back and forth. We've seen -1.5, -1 on Carolina, bounce back to a pick'em and bounce back to UNC. This is going to be a close game. I can't see it getting off of that 1.5 line either way as it goes throughout the day. Be very surprised if you see 2s out there.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think we can all agree. Going to be a big handle on this game. As far as where the sharps betting, I think you're going to have sharps on both sides. I don't think in a game of this caliber, it's really that big of a deal to talk about. I will preface before we get into the actual breakdown, I'm sitting on a very big Gonzaga ticket. I'm not going to necessarily have a play on the game per se. I did take a little money back on an exact result. North Carolina beats Gonzaga plus 236. Got it on Friday. Bet that. But as far as the game itself, I'm not hedging any other way. So I'm going to stick with the 25-1. I'm going to ride it out. They've got me here. I've been preaching Gonzaga all year. And I'm going to mention in this breakdown with the panelists why I believe Gonzaga will win this game. And I think they have several distinct advantages in this game. But let's get into the actual breakdown, guys. UNC -1 or pick them against Gonzaga over under sitting at 155. And that's pretty much the number everywhere. I haven't seen a ton of move really on that as far as lately. But, first things first. First game, Gonzaga's been an underdog all year. I don't know how they'll be in this spot. Again, it's virtually a pick 'em, so it's not that big of a deal. But anyone have anything on that? Kind of this being the first underdog game of the year for Gonzaga?
Yeah, I'll chime in on that. I mean, it's a spot they're not really used to. But then, big man, you said it again. It's not. I mean, if you win the game by a bucket, or if you lose the game by a bucket, it's not really that big of a swing. They're not getting 5, 6, or 7 points here, and deservedly so for Gonzaga. They played the favorite role all season long. I think Gonzaga still can have that chip on the shoulder as saying people still don't believe in this. We have one last blue blood team that we're going to match up with here. Can we take them down? And I think that's going to play heavily in before that locker room, before they come out. Mark Few's going to gather them around and be like, look, I don't even care. And he's not going to obviously bring up the point spread, but he's going to say the same thing. Nobody thought we'd be here. Nobody thinks we're going to win tonight. I think that might play into it.
That's a great point, Donnie. I think he'll use that as fodder as far as for the game. Hey, they're still thinking of us as underdogs. We have one loss. We've done pretty much everything in front of us, and we're still an underdog. Just little things like that. But first things first, obviously people are going to mention the rebounding that UNC does. And Donnie, talked about it Saturday after the game when we did that breakdown after the game. The fact that UNC, even though the rebounds were even in that game against Oregon, they just got the big rebounds late in the game. And that's been their MO for years. That's one thing Roy Williams has always instilled. And one thing I do respect about his coaching strategy, he's always a guy that gets very good rebounders, pure rebounders, kids that just go up and take the ball out of the air, like a Kennedy Meeks, like a Sean May years ago. They just have those guys, Brendan Haywood. They just have those guys that do that. But you look at tonight, I mean, obviously they're the best offensive rebounder team in the country, but I think we can point out Gonzaga They're the second best defensive rebounding team in the country. They played South Carolina. They played West Virginia. BYU is a very good rebounding team. I don't think UNC is going to do anything out of the realm of Gonzaga as far as size. I think they're going to be just fine to be able to neutralize that. What's your opinion on that, guys?
I'll actually take the other side of that, big man. I kind of like UNC's matchup with Meeks and really the talent from the big men that they have. I think it is something that Gonzaga hasn't seen, especially on like a game after game basis playing in the ACC. I think that playing in the West Coast Conference could come back to bite them a little bit, especially on the boards. So I wouldn't be surprised to see UNC get after them on the offensive board.
We're all pretty we all obviously respect each other's opinions. I gotta be honest, I don't think you could be more wrong. I don't think I'm just saying I don't really. I mean, Gonzaga has made it clear all year. I think they're the better front court in this game, to be honest. I mean, I think they have distinct advantages with Collins. He's a first-round pick. I don't know if he'll stay, but the way he has played has been absolutely fantastic. But Hicks has been terrible in this tournament. I mean, Meeks is a great player. Don't get me wrong, but with Karnowski, with Collins, with Tilly, I think they have a really good. I think they could out-rebound North Carolina's game. Don't get me wrong. I really think they could. Good.
I think it's close. I actually really think these teams match up pretty well. I mean, Meeks and Karnowski are two guys that are going to be more used to having a weight advantage against their opponent. And I mean, I guess Karnowski's got a little bit of a weight advantage, but that's a pretty good matchup down there. Collins against Hicks, I think these are probably the best prospects on either team going to the next level. And, I just up and down I thought North Carolina, I don't know how to exactly say. I thought they had an advantage over Oregon, just athletically, size-wise in the front court. Kind of saw that in the last couple seconds there of that game, which was just insane. I don't know if we'll ever see that again. But no, I think these teams match up. I think it's a really close matchup, which is kind of adds to my intrigue of this game because it's just, it's going to be two heavyweights duking it out, and hopefully it'll go down to the wire like we all expect.
Sure. But yeah, I just think, and Drew, I get where you're coming from with, the level of competition. Maybe we'll catch up to them. But I think we all need to get past that. I mean, Gonzaga has beaten everyone in front of them other than one team. Look how many ranked teams they played this year. Look how many good teams they played this year. They've arrived. We have to get to that. And, as far as the matchup itself, Ian, do you have any thoughts? Donnie, any thoughts on the rebounding?
There's a reason I've been reserved throughout this whole conversation. I don't even have anything close to a bettable opinion on this game. That's really all there is to it. I mean, side or total. I think Gonzaga, there was a little hint of value at the opener. My numbers had it -2.5 with North Carolina. I'm certainly not in love with Gonzaga at the current number. Now pick 'em 1 in this game. And you look at it from a North Carolina perspective, who outside of Justin Jackson and Kennedy Meeks had a good game against Oregon? I don't think anybody else did. I mean, Kennedy Meeks was fantastic. Justin Jackson, boy, has he ever been great at both ends of the floor. I mean, offensively, he's made big shots. Defensively, the way he shut down Kentucky's backcourt and then Oregon's duo of Dorsey and Brooks the last two games for North Carolina, it's been very, very impressive. Ed said it all the way. His draft stock definitely going up. He's been absolutely impressive here in these last two games for North Carolina. That North Carolina played as poorly as they did, I thought, against Oregon. I was happy with an Oregon ticket in my pocket, had them +5 in that game. So I was happy to see them struggle the way they did. But you look at it, 8 of 21 from three-point range. Not great at the free throw line, especially down the stretch. 19 of 27, 70% from the charity stripe, including some big missed free throws late. Luckily, they got the rebounds and were able to keep preserve the win, basically, because of it. So there's a lot of room for improvement for North Carolina. The fact they still beat Oregon playing as poorly as a game that team did outside of Meeks and outside of Jackson, it tells me there's probably room for improvement for North Carolina heading into this game tonight. That being said, I don't underestimate Gonzaga or Mark Few. He's done a terrific job with this team. I like the way that they responded to adversity when South Carolina made that huge run against them. Boy, there was Gonzaga with the answer. Out of the timeout, they reeled the ship in, got everybody back in the game, and just focused and got the job done down the stretch. It's going to be a fantastic game. Collins is going to have to be good. Shemek Karnowski is going to have to be an absolute monster battling those bigs down low for North Carolina. Fantastic game to watch, but sadly from a betting perspective, guys, don't have much of anything on this one.
Yeah, you mentioned UNC, how they played in that game. I mean, I got to tell you, I think there's and this is where I think the distinct advantage probably for Gonzaga is look, Joel Berry's not been right in this tournament. I mean, we can say it's his ankle, we could say whatever, but he was 2 for 14 against Oregon. He only hit he didn't hit a 2-point shot in the game. And I think Williams Goss is starting to kind of find himself. Not that he hasn't all year, but I think he has a distinct advantage in the backcourt. Their guards have a distinct advantage. Joel Berry hasn't been very good in this tournament. I don't know how else to say it. That is, for me, an X factor here.
But clearly he's hobbled, no question. He's not even close to 100% right now.
I mean, I think Barry will be better. He's not going to shoot 1 for 10 or whatever he was the last game. You do worry about his ankle, but even the matchups for me go down to the ankle injuries of both point guards, right? They're both on gimpy ankles.
Yeah, but here's the thing. I mean, this isn't a week later. I mean, it's a day and a half since then. I mean, Joe Berry really hasn't been good at all in this tournament. I mean, it's not just one game. I mean,
he didn't have a good game somewhere in there.
Not particularly.
Okay.
Not that I can remember. But again, I mean, I just think with Williams Goss, you know, I know he looked pretty chipper to me as far as in the press conference. He looked ready to go. From what I understand, he is ready.
I mean, he bounced back in that game. His is probably a little bit less serious. Although, like, honestly, Barry didn't look too gimpy to me. He just looked like he had a bad game. Maybe that's the injury, maybe not. So I kind of got a funny story from the Gonzaga game. I obviously had a lot riding on it with all the bracket advice I had given out with Gonzaga. And it was just driving me crazy that Karnowski was like going up for these layups early in that game. And he actually missed 2 of them. And so when he actually dunked that ball in the second half, I like got up and screamed, like, that is how you take the ball up to the basket. Right. Forgetting that, you know, my friend's child was sleeping upstairs and was trying to go down. But luckily I didn't wake her up. But man, I mean, I don't know if he had a bad game. I don't know if I just haven't seen enough of these games, but some of those layups that he was putting up there in the first half was driving me nuts.
Yeah, he has to, and this is an epidemic in college basketball. Bigs not dunking the ball. I mean, we talked about it with Isaac Haas for weeks. Right. It seemed like. I mean, just you're that tall, dunk the basketball. You know, right. Be physical. You know, but Karnowski, I want to shout out Teddy Covers. Teddy made a good point about Karnowski on Sportsbit. He's big body, great passer,
great hands.
Yeah, not that astute though around the rim. I mean, he isn't. I mean, he's just not. I mean, he's not a good foul shooter. He's possibly a European pro. I'm not sure he's an NBA pro. He is a big kid, but agility wise, he's going to struggle at a higher level. But yeah, he needs to take up space. He needs to, rebound, do the little things, be the leader that he is. I mean, he's won so many games there, the most ever, I think, in the country. But yeah, dunk the basketball. I mean, you're huge. There's no one on the team tonight that's as big as you are as far as weight's concerned. So use that weight to your advantage. But yeah, I agree with you, Ed. It's definitely an epidemic in this country as far as dunking the basketball. But we have Drew back. Looks like we lost him for a second. Drew, all that technology down there and we lose you. What
yeah, the IT guys were just here, Wanma. I actually tried to sign off on the SBR so I could type to people from Drew Martin Bets, and that messed everything up. So it was my fault.
Okay. No problem. No problem.
You can be SBR Bets, man.
Yeah, I am SBR Bets.
And Zach's chiming in. What's up, Zach, from SBR? He's chiming in that looks like at SBR odds, the Heels are back to -1 at most books. So, there you go.
You wager there.
Good two-way action. That's what you want in the championship.
There you go.
Game,
yeah, sure. But Ian, you make a good point in your breakdown. There's not look, the lines basically pick them for a reason here. There's not distinct advantages really for either side. The one advantage, though, is I think at the guard position, I think I'm going to take what they have over UNC. I do think Justin Jackson's clearly the guy that is kind of the guy that concerns me if I'm holding a Gonzaga ticket. Who will guard him? But you look at the wing. Williams and Matthews have been fantastic. Williams is, I think, a guy that I don't think gets a whole lot of respect, but he's been really the catalyst for them on the defensive end. And we have to point out how again, how truly good they are defensively. They're one of the best rim protect teams in the country. They guard the three, 29.5% from distance. And, I mean, they rebound. I mean, I don't know what else you could ask for from a defensive team. This Gonzaga team is real. And I look at it in this tournament. Has UNC seen a team like this defensively? Not sure they have. But
and that's what makes it very difficult from a totals perspective. You've got two great defensive teams, yet you got a total in the 150s. But why is it in the 150s? Well, because North Carolina is going to push pace at every opportunity, and I don't think Gonzaga is going to be scared to push pace. Some of their best offense in this tournament has come from transition opportunities and being able to make things happen before half-court defenses get a chance to set up. So it's going to be one of those things. We could get a great deal of pace in this game. That's why the total is as high as it is. But with those defensive units on both sides, could also mean this game still has a chance to stay under.
I got to tell you, and this is just my whole view totally on this game. Unless Justin Jackson has a huge game, I don't think there's any way they win this game. Just my opinion. I don't like what I've seen out of Hicks. Barry's been bad. Pinson, okay. Bradley, okay. Luke May, okay, he's not going to give you 20 points. Justin Jackson has to be, to me, him and Meeks have to have huge games. I don't know.
I think in this game, I think a lot of pace is going to get dictated in this game. The one thing, if UNC is allowed to run up and down the court, and I think if Gonzaga engages that, that's a clear advantage for UNC here. If you watch in the last game, one of the important things that Mark Few did is you don't really want too much of South Carolina in the half court. So Gonzaga really pushed that pace and sent that 138 way over the pace to start out that game because that's what they wanted to dictate. I think the one clear advantage here that Gonzaga is going to have is their half-court defense and rim protectors. Because if you take a look at UNC, what they want to do is they get a jump shot. They want those second chance points, 17 offensive rebounds. Forget about the defensive end. The key to these games in the tournament is can you clean up your own mess? UNC destroyed Oregon on that and barely clipped Oregon in the end of that game. Those second chance points are not going to be here, which means points will be at a premium. UNC is going to try to push the pace. If somehow Gonzaga can counter that, I don't know if it's, leave, Zach Collins under the rim and everybody sprint back on defense. But if they limit UNC in the transition game, good luck UNC running a half-court game. We saw it with West Virginia when Gonzaga had a clear, concise advantage saying, we're not going to let you get out and run. West Virginia was embarrassing in their half-court set, but that's not so much of an indication of being West Virginia just a bad offensive team. That's how good Gonzaga is on defense. Look for Mark Few if he can slow it down and say, UNC, you're not going to get out and run on us. You're not going to get, 15 fast break points. Clear advantage, Gonzaga.
They are. They're a great defensive team. And you know what? North Carolina, let's be honest, very good, great team all year. They're not here without their offensive rebounding prowess. Not even maybe. They're not even sniffing around this national championship game if they're not as dominant on the offensive glass as they've been all season.
You could agree. They basically, other than that offensive rebound, handed the game to Oregon on a silver platter. In a game that Oregon didn't play well in, Oregon had that opportunity to win the game. They just couldn't grab a rebound. And that was the problem for Oregon. They just didn't have enough bodies to beat UNC. They only had 6. The problem here that you're going to have facing Gonzaga is they have 9, 10 guys. You look at their bench. Tilly's great, a kid that can come in and play well for you, who, by the way, looks like a dead ringer for Sabonis. I don't know if you guys have noticed that. He looks just like him. Has anyone noticed that? I feel like I'm watching him when I see that kid. Silas Melson's a good player. They have guys that can come off and give you minutes, can give you and a guy that no one talks about, X factor wise. If Jordan Matthews continues to do what he's done, no one's talked about him. But you look at in the games in this tournament, 16, 14, 13, 11, 12. He's at least 2 threes in each game in this tournament. He's been the difference in these games. And it's a small thing. You don't notice him, but he's a kid that can make a 3 when you give it to him in an open shot. He's an X factor I look for. But, yeah, Donnie's great point. Half-court offense for UNC, like anyone against Gonzaga, it's going to be very difficult. They have to get out and run.
Yeah, big man, I got to agree with you on that. And let's talk about Jordan Matthews just a little bit more. In that semifinal game, he was not shy about shooting at all. He's a little bit less of a usage guy for Gonzaga. But, in terms of props, like his odds for hitting the first 3 are kind of looking low to me. Gonzaga actually has a higher 3-point. They shoot a higher rate of 3-pointers than North Carolina does. Jordan Matthews is not going to be shy, and he's the best shooter on that team, almost 40%. So I think that's a pretty interesting prop there.
Yeah, I actually had that written down, over 2.5 made threes at 130. You have to lay a little juice, but he's made it. He's made at least 2 in every game in this tournament, had 4 against South Carolina. He's going to be, and again, I mean, North Carolina average against a 3, particularly on the road. So I think they'll have the opportunity. We're seeing a lot of, in my opinion, the weakness for Gonzaga is no killer instinct. They've given up big leads.
I think everybody's given up big leads in the tournament.
I mean, yeah, exactly. I mean, UNC hasn't given up big leads in this tournament. Did you watch the Arkansas game?
Did you watch the Oregon game?
Yeah, did you watch the Oregon game?
How about the Kentucky game? Second athlete, and Kentucky had that big run and took the lead.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a completely idiotic argument. I mean,
no. Yeah.
I just don't. I mean, that's
it's a tournament. People make runs. And again, that's the way it goes. Yeah.
And here's the thing about this: people that don't like Gonzaga, they make it. If they don't win by 30 every night, they didn't do their job. They allowed the team to hang in the game. This is real basketball. They're
not playing Portland Pilots anymore.
I know.
Come on, let's get with it here. Yeah.
This isn't Pacific or Loyola Marymount. I mean, it's big time teams now. You're going to play close games, and they play close games, which they hadn't done all year, and they've won them. That's the big point here.
Absolutely.
Yeah, big man. I just wanted to go back on one thing you said. I thought it was a great point. Who has UNC played that's going to play the level of defense Gonzaga has? And looking back, I mean, there are some teams in the ACC that do play good defense: Miami, Virginia, Louisville, Georgia Tech, and they lost to 3 of those teams. So. Sure. You make a great point in that could be a tough matchup for him.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. I mean, you got your Louisville, you got your Miami. You look at that game against Virginia back.
I remember that game. I mean, they were horrid offensively.
Yeah, 43 points against the Virginia Cavaliers in that game.
Yeah, couldn't make anything. I also had someone on here. I don't know if they're still on here, but I wanted to kind of comment on this, just as kind of some advice. Again, do what you want to do. I'm just saying it from a point of view. Somebody on here was talking about buying 2 points and taking the game up to 3.5, which, again, I'm not sure why you would ever do that. I don't really get the thinking pattern there. Again, I'm just trying to help you out. It's probably something that you shouldn't want to do long term. I mean, I'm not sure what the juice on that is. I guess you think they're going to lose by 3 or less. I don't know. It's kind of something that I wouldn't recommend doing. Guys, do you have any comments on that?
That's definitely not something I do.
Yeah, I mean, if you're like, I always look at a key ingredient in a college basketball game, especially the tournament, is 5 points. It's usually a sticking point for me. I don't mind buying a half point if you're going to buy it from 2.5 to 3 or 3 to 3.5, because situational basketball at the end of the game will dictate that you might be able to steal possession getting that half point. But buying 2 points, I mean, that's what are you laying, 140 or 150? You might as well just take a teaser with something else. I don't recommend buying anything more than a half point in certain situations.
Yeah, I mean, you buy a half point on in a football game to take it up to 7.5 or something.
Yeah,
sure.
Exactly.
Okay,
exactly.
fine. But to take a game from 1.5 to 3.5 or whatever it is doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Great work this season. Been a fan since day one and appreciate all the info. Thank you, Kevin. That's nice of you. Glad you guys enjoy the show. We seem to always get a good response to the show, and we enjoy doing it. This is the redemption for UNC. They will not lose this game. Well, you would be right, but wouldn't it be nice and sweet for Gonzaga? 20 years they've been in the making to do this. 20 years with the same coach. He didn't sell his team out like a half of all these other guys and go and run to the nearest job opening.
And then get fired there.
Right. He stayed in Spokane, built a product, and has become, to me, the best coach in the country as far as totally. He has won McDonald's All-American and has had very few in his career at Gonzaga. The only one, Zach Collins, who, that was just one. He does it by coaching, recruiting, getting these kids in, playing the game the right way. There's a lot of redemption here for Gonzaga as well. It's not just UNC. Did they lose on a buzzer beater last year? Yeah. Should they have been in that position? No, because Marcus Page made an absolutely ridiculous shot that he would never make again if he had to. So we need to look at it from that point of view. Sometimes the will to win is just bigger. This is the unknown against the big blue blood. And I got to tell you right now, there's no one in the corner I would want more than Mark Few tonight. And I think all of you could agree with that. Roy Williams is, a good recruiter, but he's got a lot to recruit for. Anyone have any comment on that?
That's what makes this matchup so scintillating, big man. I mean, you got motivation off the charts. Obviously, you have motivation to win a championship is there already, but you've got that extra little Gonzaga trying to push this program to the top of the mountain for the first time during this brilliant nearly 20-year run that Gonzaga's had. And then you've got North Carolina and all those players that are back from last year's team, remembering that dagger of a buzzer beater shot against Villanova that took them down in the national championship game. They want to avenge that. Boy, it makes for some great television tonight, doesn't it?
Sure, it really does. Here we go. This is a good question, Ed. We'll have some fun with this one. What about Gonzaga not playing a team in the AP top 10 all season?
I don't think that's true. I mean, Arizona's been in there. I mean, a couple of teams have been in there that they played.
Again.
Right now?
Right.
I mean, hey, look, Gonzaga has beat.
We're still on that topic. I mean, at this point, we're still in the championship game. We're still on that topic.
Hey, Gonzaga's beat the pants off of everyone they were supposed to beat, except for BYU. I mean, they deserve to belong here.
Hey, Ed, how about this, Ed? I want you to comment on this. Can we talk about how nobody cares about rankings in the top 10 AP? Come on.
I mean, I care about the preseason poll because that's a surprising predictor.
Okay, sure.
But yeah, after that, I kind of ignore it.
Yeah, does it mean anything in the long term? Possibility that Zags play some zone.
They do.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely will. I mean, especially
depends on foul trouble too.
Sure.
Yeah, let's set the record straight. My power ratings matter. These guys' power ratings matter. Vegas odds makers' power ratings matter. Not an AP poll, not some crazy tournament committee that totally screws up the seeds year in and year out. None of those people matter. These are the people's opinions that matter right here, right now.
I think I mean, you're dead right. I mean, if you're sitting at, if today your goal is to sit down and watch ESPN tell you who's going to win, you probably should get it. You probably should get more time in your hands.
Don't enter the handicapping business.
Right. If that's how you look at games, you probably should look elsewhere. This might not. Maybe you should go become a mechanic, or play cards, or sew or something. It's probably not a good idea.
Just like if you're banking on Terry Bradshaw's picks on an NFL Sunday on the Fox pregame. No.
Right. Yeah, but I always like the argument that people make also with you haven't beat a top 10 team. If you go back to the NFL, my favorite statistic is they haven't beat a team that's a playoff team all year or has a record over 500. Well, maybe if they lost to them, they probably would be over 500 and a playoff team. The fact that they beat them is going to knock them down the standings anyway. I mean, I throw none of that into. They haven't played anybody, or they're not in the top 10 anymore. I just don't recognize.
I do throw in some stock. I said it earlier. I'm not sure in the ACC or anywhere that they've seen a defense as good as Gonzaga. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that Gonzaga's the best. They're not. There's defenses that I'm sure are better than them. I'm just saying, I think from a standpoint of matchup to matchup, I think Gonzaga, to me, is the best team in the country. I've said it from day one. I don't know how long. I've been the biggest proponent of this team. Go on I've said it. There's no one that said it more. I have. I just don't think UNC is as good as Gonzaga. I don't, and especially right now. If Joel Berry was playing at a high level, if you're getting more out of Hicks and Pinson, I just don't like the way they're playing right now. And I think in this spot, a day and a half after a game that you played, I just don't think they're as good as Gonzaga. That's all. And that's why I'm not hedging. That's why I'm not buying out of it. I'm sticking with it.
Big man, is that a good
chariot stop? He's letting it ride. That's the big man with his Gonzaga ticket.
I got that little exact result thing, which I got a great price on. That'll give me some money back if I lose, but I'm riding with the team that got me here. Don, Ed, we've talked about it.
Yeah,
I'm gonna ride with them. I think they're gonna win. I think they're the better team in this game, and I definitely want my money in the hands of few over Roy Williams. If Gonzaga had played and beaten the top teams repeatedly, Gonzaga would be favored, and we'd all have to watch that game and not bet it. I don't think so. I mean, you would agree, Ed, that UNC is the favorite pretty much no matter what.
Oh, yeah, and I mean, that considers a lot of different things. That considers their performance this year. That considers their perception as a team, the talent level on that team. I mean, I can imagine a situation in which North Carolina would have played worse over the course of the year, and they wouldn't be a favorite in this game. But, I mean, based on the data we have, I think North Carolina being a small favorite is completely reasonable.
Sure. Yeah, agreed. Guys, an X factor. Do we have one?
Yeah, I'll go first on that one. Even though, me and Jeff have been rooting for Gonzaga as many people have out there, just a fun story there. But my X factor tonight is going to be Luke May again coming into the equation. If he goes again and has a 2-point game and picks up foul after foul after foul in the first half like he did versus Oregon, quick fouls in the second half and scores 2 points, they're going to lose tonight. He really needs to step up. 17 points versus UK, 16 points versus Butler. If he can give them double digits as an X-factor type player tonight, UNC can probably win this game. But if Luke May gives them nothing on the bench, 5 points or less, they're going to be in some trouble.
Yeah, they it's funny you mentioned fouls and stuff. As far as referees in this game, you got Mike Eads, Vern Harris, and Michael Stevens. So no John Higgins, no Ted Valentine. We can all rest well knowing that today. I know for me, after this, I'm going to go out and get a nice ice cream sundae knowing that that they're not going to be reffing tonight. Just kidding. I'm not. I probably shouldn't anyway. But at any rate, clearly any game is dictated on how the game is called. If Gonzaga struggles like they did against some of these teams with foul trouble with Karnowski and Collins, then obviously, could be a little bit different of a game. But I get the feeling this game's called a little bit more, free flowing and it's called well. Eads is a pretty good referee. From someone did some respected person, I forget who it was, I saw did a collection of the best refs and the worst refs from 2008 to I think 2014, which clearly a couple years old. But Mike Eads was ranked in the top 10. I think he was like 6th. So there is some national respect for Mike Eads. He's a kid, Donnie, from Princeton, the area. So that's kind of cool. We should see a pretty good game. I think they're definitely going to redeem themselves, I would hope, tonight with the way this refereeing has been. For me, I mentioned Jordan Matthews. I think if he hits 3 or 4 threes, I think Gonzaga will win this game. I just think he's the guy that kind of stirs the drink on a small level for Gonzaga. You don't really ever hear about him, but he's a kid that when he gets the ball in the corner, he's pretty much, he's pretty much going to make that shot. So, yeah, I like him. I will be interested to know who guards Justin Jackson. I would imagine probably it would be Williams, but we'll see. Anyone else have an X factor?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that the matchup between Karnowski and Meeks is a really big X factor. And on top of that, if Gonzaga shoots like they did against the Gamecocks, 9 of 19 from 3, yeah, I don't think the Zags are going to be stopped. I mean, they were on fire when they came out in that first half. The depth perception didn't get to them at all. If not, it helped them. So I would say those two are the main points of this game.
Good point. They also made 12 threes against the Xavier Bulldogs. Look, I mean, they shoot 51% from the field, guys. I mean, it's April 3rd. They still shoot above 50%. I mean, they're efficient. They really are. And that's kind of the thing that you can bank on with Gonzaga. It's very unlikely they're going to not shoot well. We saw it even against the West Union. They still were able to pull it out with their defense. That just what makes them so hard to beat. I make it minus 250 that Big Man has a sundae today. No, you would be wrong. I don't like ice cream. I actually hate ice cream. So you would be wrong with that. So hope you took the dog there. Anyone else have an X factor?
Yeah, I mean, from a props perspective, Williams and Matthews over props make a little bit of sense to me, especially because I think Justin Jackson is going to be looking to guard Williams Goss, really going to take him out of the equation a little bit. I think you're going to have to look for a Williams and a Matthews to really step up big time for Gonzaga in this game. And as for under props, Joel Berry, until I see a sign of him that he's going to come out of the, not a funk, but the injury related, struggles that he's had, I'm inclined probably to look at some of his props to go under the total, as Paul Bearer, the Undertaker, who had his last match at WrestleMania, would say, keep taking under. That's what you got to do, I think, here with that's what you got to do with Joel Berry and even Williams Goss. I mean, he his points props, they're going to be pretty high up there. And I think, if Justin Jackson digs in defensively as well as he has the last couple of games, it may put a little bit of stress and duress on him to produce. So maybe under on Williams Goss, look for some other guys for Gonzaga to have to pull the load offensively a little bit.
I think one kid that it hasn't hurt them too much in this tournament, Gonzaga. But I think one kid that is just from kind of picking him out, and when something bad happens, I feel like he's always around it. Josh Perkins. I don't know what it is about him. He is a sophomore. He's still pretty young, and he had a pretty decent year last year. But it seems like everything is when he's around goes wrong. I don't know why, but he needs to take care of the basketball tonight. We saw him. He did turn the ball over against BYU twice in that stretch, and that's one of the reasons they lost that game. But again, we're kind of grasping for straws. Guys, a couple things. Let's get into a couple props. I know Ian kind of pointed out some. I pointed out Matthews over 2.5 threes. I think it's a pretty good bet. I also like I'll keep riding that Hicks doesn't play well. I mean, this isn't exactly the team that you're going to get get it going against. I mean, we all know how good Gonzaga is defensively. At under 8.5, I mean, he's only scored 15 points combined in the last 3 games. He only had 2 against Oregon. Does anyone think he's going to get out of it against Gonzaga?
There always seems to be that one player that jumps out of nowhere after struggling for multiple games on end, especially in a championship game setting. That's the only concern I'd have about a Hicks under, but until I see it, I can only bet it under the way I look at it.
Sure. And a small, most outstanding player, I'll go Zach Collins, plus 1750. I mean, great game against South Carolina. Listen, I think he's a guy that with that kind of value, I think you got to take a shot with. I mean, has anyone had a better couple days than him, really? I mean,
no, and he was kind of my X factor, if he can be the X factor, as in he's probably the most talented player on that team. You know, you saw his ability on both ends of the court in that semifinal game, and you know, if he plays well, that gives him all the more chance. I mean, I still think North Carolina should have a slightly higher chance to win this game, and I think that means you got to go with Justin Jackson as the most outstanding player. I mean, it's going to be whoever wins this game. You know,
that's kind of,
and so Williams Goss, if he has a great game and Gonzaga wins, he's going to win it. I mean, Collins absolutely could burst out and have a great game and win that as well. But if you're looking on the other side of the ledger, I mean, Justin Jackson's had a heck of a game on Saturday night. I expect him to do so again on Monday night, and especially if the people voting for this, whoever the heck they are looking at what's going on the defensive side of the ball. You gotta look at Justin Jackson.
Yeah, I mean, that's also another decent way to hedge, honestly. I find it if UNC wins, is there anyone else that will win it over Jackson? I mean, it would be very unlikely. So that would be a decent way. Do any of you guys partake in herb smoking? No, I don't. I've never smoked in my life, bro. Just check Gonzaga's road to get here, and it's laughable. Okay, Tyler, then go bet UNC. Get off the chat then. Clearly, you don't like what we're saying, so you shouldn't be on the chat. I can't stand that. I mean, take a look at what they've done. Stop. You're talking stupid. Come on. Doesn't Meeks have good value for MOP? Thought he'd think they'd have to dominate the boards to win. Yeah, I could see that. And that's one kind of X factor and why I probably won't make the bet on Jackson. I mean, Meeks has had a pretty good tournament. I mean, and you have to think in this game, he's going to have to be really good on the boards for them to win. You know, maybe he's worth a look at 395.
I mean, Meeks is interesting because he's probably not as consistent just because, you know, a lot of the buckets he got on Saturday night were like passes that he was right at he was right under the goal, which is where he should be. You know, those kind of come and go. It's not like he's creating as much as Justin Jackson can, which is why I think there's longer odds on Meeks to win that award.
Sure. Do you guys think the line would be different if Barry was 100%? I don't think. I don't think it's unless you're LeBron James or something like that. The line really doesn't move too much. I mean, what do you guys think on that?
No, he's played, so it's not like he's not going to play. I mean, you could say the same thing for Williams Goss as well. I mean, he's banged up as well. As long as they're in the starting lineup, there's going to be no impact at all on the line.
Sure. Yeah, I hear you. Other than that, guys, just a couple things on the tournament itself. Mm-hmm. What was the best game in this tournament?
I'd put the West Virginia Gonzaga game up there. That was a fun one to watch. Went back and forth, and you know, it was probably the toughest game Gonzaga's had till this point, and an interesting, you know, stylistic matchup. So I would go with West Virginia Gonzaga.
I'm going to say Wisconsin, Florida.
Yep.
I think that was just absolute insanity, that game. I mean, just you got identical shots shots to force overtime by Showalter, and then an identical shot to win it in overtime to end the game by Chiozza for Florida. I mean, identical running jumper, and somehow it goes in. Unbelievable game, back and forth, wild swings of momentum. Badgers Gators gets my call for game of the tournament.
Yeah, that's one I wrote down too. I mean, you obviously had not one, but basically two huge shots. I really enjoyed that game. It's fantastic stuff. And as far as, I mean, UK UNC was pretty good as well, guys.
Oh man, that was
a great down in the Memphis pod, man. That was my bet right there for that UNC UK. I mean, just superstars all over. You had the great finish in there. Two blue blood programs. Arena just going wild. One team scores half the place would erupt. The other team scores the other half would erupt. Fantastic.
Yeah, there's been some good games. Actually, lately, there's been some great games in this tournament. And I think one thing, Huggins is a clown and never runs an offense. I don't know about that. Huggins is pretty underrated, I think. The worst game of the season was West Virginia Zags. Yeah, I mean, from an offensive standpoint, it was not pretty, for sure.
From a fouling standpoint.
Yeah, but there definitely were some good ones. Interesting tweet, guys. Frank Kaminsky. This was during the Oregon-UNC game. Quotations. Bad officiating in the Final Four? What else is new? Do we agree?
Yeah, I don't think they can find him either at this point. So
I don't think they can either. But yeah, overall, guys, I really had a fun time doing this year. It was kind of one of those things we look forward to every week to do. Got a great reception. Before we kind of do some plugs and get on out of here, and kind of make an official play or prediction. What else did you see this year in college basketball that you want to bring up?
Yeah, actually, I got something that I wanted to ask you guys. I mean, it's been with Villanova last year and whoever wins tonight, we're not seeing one of these one-and-done factories take home the title. And
sure.
I'm just kind of wondering if this kind of, I mean, you can never make too much out of two runs in the tournament. But, like, what are programs like a Kansas that can kind of go either way, kind of try to get a more senior-laden team or try to go for some one-and-dones? What's the best strategy? I mean, obviously you want talent, but do you want to develop that talent like North Carolina's done over with a couple of upperclassmen, or are you going to do the Calipari route, which is boom and bust?
Here's the problem that you're going to have, that you can look at anywhere in the country. Money talks. I mean, and at the end of the day, the NBA could throw millions of dollars at these kids. The Nike shoe companies could throw millions of dollars at these kids. And to go to college, I know for me, if I was a top-level basketball player, I wouldn't care too much about college. I actually think I don't think it's fair that they make them go to college, personally. I don't think there's a way to really prevent that. And you look at even in the next coming years, all the kids that are coming in, and you look at the balls. I mean, they make it perfectly clear. We don't want to go to college. We want to go right to the NBA. I don't think there's a way to prevent that. Unless you eliminate contracts, it's never going to be there. And I think if you look at the top 10 coming in this year, I think if you took 8 or 9 of them, they would go right to the NBA. It sucks. I think it's just kind of something that we're going to have to deal with. And, for a year, that's what makes it good. But the whole 4-year thing, the Wisconsin of a couple years ago, that's very unlikely. And I know my mic is kind of messed up from what I'm being told.
Well, I mean, but for me, it's not about the kids. It's more about the coaches and what the coaches try to do, right? I mean, Coach K has really adopted a one-and-done type of strategy. Obviously had some success with that in 2014. 2014? Yeah. 2015. I don't know. I mean, I guess that could be on me to try to figure out, what's do one-and-done teams do better, or do senior-laden teams do? It's such a hard thing because every one-and-done team is different level of talent.
The one-and-dones have a higher ceiling talent-wise, but again, you get to develop. You get teams with chemistry, cohesion that get to come together as a group and maybe play together for 2-3 years in a row and make that run to a national championship. I honestly like the development route and getting those senior-laden teams and getting those teams that get the chance to play together 2-3 years in a row and maybe develop some of that chemistry. But as Jeff said, made a great point about the fact these are young guys. They know they're going to be NBA first-round draft picks. Everybody that knows knows they're a great first-round draft pick, knows it already, and they just want to have their one big year in college, get the hell out of there, move on to the NBA because they want it all and they want it now. It's that kind of thing. They just want that money, they want that big paycheck, and they move on after 1 year of college, and it's been a recurring theme.
But I don't know that it's, and again, if you're a purist, you want 4 years and whatever, okay, but I don't think it's been that bad. There's been a decent mix of it, whether it's, going right away and then leaving or staying. You've had a Wisconsin team make a run. You've had Kentucky teams with all one and done players. When you had a Duke team with a good mix, they won. So, again, it's not going to get any different because the kids coming in next year, Porter's only staying for a year.
Yeah, we definitely haven't seen a strong enough pattern yet either way to really determine if there is a big major difference between the one and done teams and the senior laden development, together for a couple of years teams in terms of championship success.
Yeah, Ian, I'll piggyback right off that for you on that. I mean, just looking at it, I love the intrigue that it brings. I mean, when Wichita State goes up against Kentucky, it's that program as itself versus, the one and done type things. The one thing I was actually encouraged this year by the one and dones, Ian, if you take a look at it, like Kentucky was actually devastated and crying on microphone in the locker room. When you have the flip side, like Markelle Fultz, he didn't give a damn about his college. Ben Simmons, let's go to the NIT. Yeah, I'm out of here. So at least it's good that some of these programs still instill that college pride and they really care about the game, where other ones just like, I have my paycheck coming. I'm not even down for this anymore. So good point.
Lonzo Ball cared at all about losing the other night?
I think he actually did, because I think he respects the game. But again, Markelle Fultz, just what an embarrassment, that whole mockery up there in Washington this year.
Well, I think Lonzo cares just because he didn't have a good game.
Yeah, probably. And I think something was up. Wasn't his mom real sick, going to the hospital or something? But Donnie, to your point, yeah, seeing those Kentucky kids,
that was tough.
That gave me kind of some reassurance to college basketball, and I actually think it was a great year. Probably the best college basketball year I can remember. So I have a real positive outlook on college basketball going forward.
Yeah, it just gives those mid-major programs we always talk about. You want to see them in the tournament. It's fun when you have fifth-year seniors, like grown men, 24 years old, going up against the hotshot 18, 19-year-olds. I just love the way it sets up. I would never want to see it, anything different, or you have to stay a mandatory years, because I really think it lets those mid-major programs actually compete at a much higher level heading into the tournament.
Mike, any better, guys?
Yep.
There we go.
A little better, yeah.
I don't know. I guess I had to log out and log back in. But yeah, that's a great question, Ed. It really is. That's good stuff. And we'll see. I don't think Tim Duncan's going to be walking through the door much anymore, though. Put it that way. But I do respect something like that Wisconsin team that went to the final game a couple years ago with Kaminsky and Decker. And Bo Ryan was synonymous for that. He was a guy that really instilled that for a while. But, Jay Wright's another guy that does it. I mean, guys like Josh Hart, I don't know what that is. I don't know how you make it. I will say this, though, and I know you have, and just quickly in the next year with a Michael Porter and an Ayton and some of those guys, they're going to leave. But this class coming in, there are a lot of smart kids that care about education, kids that care about winning, kids that want to get better. And I got to tell you, Kentucky next year, is their class good? Yes, it always is. Is there a player on that team like an Anthony Davis? No. And I don't know that we'll see many one and dones next year from Kentucky. Nick Richards, PJ Washington, Quade Green, I'm not sure going to go to the NBA next year. I think it's fairly unlikely. But a Michael Porter, those are probably the only ones. Maybe Muhammad Bamba. But other than that, you're not going to see many one and dones next year, in my opinion. So,
and that's super interesting too, because that could set up for a situation where Kentucky's really good in 2 years. I mean, that's what happened to them in 2015. They had a lot of guys that weren't quite good enough. They stay for their sophomore year. You get another great recruiting class, and you go undefeated through the regular season.
Yeah, that's definitely something to kind of look forward to next year. He's kind of. And a lot of these kids, you're not going to see them move on. They're all smart kids. They understand kind of the game of basketball, and they understand when it's time to kind of, prepare myself, let's move on. But, I'm not sure I'm ready. They know when to kind of say, you know what, I'm going to stay. One team, and I know we're early here in saying this, one team, though, that I think you definitely want to look out for next year, kind of early on, a team that's going to be very good, and I think we'll get to the Final Four finally. Arizona's class coming in is fantastic. They have the best big in the as far as from a pure standpoint of size and everything. DeAndre Ayton's fantastic. He's going to give them one really good year. Brandon Randolph coming in as well, another guy that is really going to give them a lot. And they're young. I mean, Trier's back. Comanche's back. Pinder's back. Raleigh Alkins is back. Cartwright's back. Kobe Simmons is back. They're going to be very good next year. I think they're a team that I'm going to look at really early on, betting a future on. I think next year might be the year for Arizona. Other than that, guys, this is awesome. I really enjoyed this. I know on Wednesday, I believe we're coming back with a new season of Roundtables with MLB. A couple of us will be part of that. And then hopefully football and basketball again. I'm urging Zach, let's make sure we do this again. This was fun. I know we had a great time doing it. Before we go, guys, we'll do some plugs. You can find me on Twitter at Jeff Nadu, JFFNADU. Beginning again, my podcast. It'll start back up tonight. First day of baseball, full day of baseball. I'm live at 5 o'clock Eastern. I'll also be on late night on campus. We'll be on live at halftime of the national championship. Donnie Rightside and I. Look for me. I'm on here. All of you know that. But catch my podcast tonight. We'll talk baseball. We'll break down all the games tonight and kind of get you prepared for that. Ed Feng, awesome doing stuff with you this year, man.
Hey, man, I appreciate that. Yeah, awesome hanging out with you guys and chatting. Love getting information from you guys. I'm Ed Feng. I'm at the Power Rank on Twitter. I'm going to be laying low a little bit in April, but getting ready for football, college football, NFL, and another college basketball season.
Awesome. Yeah, you. I know this will probably be kind of a time where you kind of hibernate a little bit, but I'm sure we'll have you back for football, and looking forward to that. Ian Cameron, what do you have going on? Where can we find you?
Yeah, sportsmemo.com, on Twitter at Bobano. It's all about baseball starting now. NHL Stanley Cup playoffs, the best playoffs in sports, next week on the way. Excited for that, hoping to make some money with that as well. So check it out, sportsmemo.com. And to Ed, to Drew, to Donnie, the big man, absolute pleasure all season long with these college basketball roundtable videos. Great handicappers, most importantly, great people.
Thank you, and that's nice of you, man. Yeah, it was something I always look forward to doing every week. You don't have to get too prepared for it. We don't talk a lot of numbers. It's just kind of a really fun overview. And I got to tell you guys, and this is just me looking at this, I think we should have a show on ESPN, honestly. I think the info we're putting out is tip-top, fantastic stuff, and we couldn't do it without all you guys. It's been a real fun doing it. Natalie Rodstrom chiming in. Great work. Really enjoy the show. Thanks, Nat. We appreciate it. I'll be on with Natalie later as well, talking soccer this week coming up. We got EPL and all sorts of stuff. Drew Martin, the new and improved Drew Martin, looking very, refreshed. Where can we find you, and what do you have going on?
Refreshed and relaxed, big man. And you can find my work at sportsmemo.com. Also down here in Costa Rica with SBR. Feel free to hit me up on Twitter. A couple friends have got to me thinking about like starting something to do with an American dude down here in Costa Rica, maybe outside of sports betting. So be putting out all kinds of content, and we'll see where that goes. But good luck to everybody tonight. And big man, thanks for hosting this. Donnie, nothing but the best. Ed and Ian, all of you guys, I appreciate it.
I will say this, that idea you just mentioned, I think is very interesting. I think it's really funny. I'm going to have to come down there and spend a week with you, and we go out and just mess around. I think that would be
you got to love the exchange rate. I actually got a little rental here, and it's 2 bedrooms, so feel free to crash on the other one.
Good for you, man. That's fantastic. I think SBR should make that happen. The Drew Martin hour, just walking around talking to people. Maybe do like a food review or something. Like that would be funny.
Yeah, they got a thing called cansada down here. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, but it's pretty good. Chicken, beans, rice. It's only about like $5. So yeah.
Good for you. Fantastic, Drew. Awesome
That's value.
stuff. I'm sure we'll see a lot more of you on SBR. Last but not least, Donnie Rightside, my one of my best friends, the good man. You came on in the middle of the year, Don. No one knew who the hell you were.
Nope.
And now look at you. You're like
part of the family now. Yeah.
Yeah, you're like the Ron Flatter of college basketball. And Ian, I know you know who I'm talking about there. Great facts. You always been our resident odds man here.
Yeah, I mean, just to put a bow on it there. I mean, it's been great, this SBR roundtable. Again, I've known Jeff for quite a while now, but didn't know anybody else. Welcomed me in very well. And if you see, again, we're not people that, chime in and talk millions of hours a week, but you can see the rapport on the show. It's about the love of sports and sports gambling and just bringing knowledge and information out. And we generally have a good time and are very passionate. And again, at SBR Sports Picks, letting me in on the roundtable. I know Jeff, vouch for me. Thanks so much for that, to come on and just talk and have a good time. And again, there's a lot more money to be made in the summer and the winter. And hopefully we do this show again, but I can't have, a bunch of great guys like this and not give shout outs, just, thanking me, bringing me in, and also more importantly, the fun we have on the show. And I hope it shows to everybody out there in the community.
Amen to that. Look for the Baseball Roundtable in the middle of the week here. We'll be doing that every Wednesday. Somebody will be doing that every Wednesday. I don't even know if I'll be on. They might fire me. I don't know. They might get me off and say, we don't want you anywhere near a radio or a microphone. Who knows? But
bad move, man.
Thank you. Guys, again, I'll just thank you all for coming on every week. It was awesome. You guys really helped, and it's good and easy to do this when you have people that know what they're doing on the other side. So for these four guys down here, including Matt as well, some of the best in the business. I don't trust very many people in this business. It's very difficult to trust anyone, but I trust their opinions, and I would urge any of you. I don't push a service. If you want to do business with me, you can find me. These guys are who I would buy a service from, and that's the truth. So go find out what they're doing, and give them some business, because like in any other business, support what you're doing. You like music, buy CDs. Don't be the guy on LimeWire downloading stuff, or I don't know what it would be now. But go support your local people. That's what's important. But yeah, check me out later today. Check all these guys out. And we'll be on live, Donnie and I. And I urge you guys, jump on. We'd love to hear from you. I'm talking about you three. Jump on the halftime show. We'd love to have you. Wouldn't we, Don?
Depends on how many drinks I've had by then, Jeff. But
we want you on anyway. We don't care. I don't care.
I want to see if Gonzaga's down 10 at the half, if Jeff is going to be happy and chipper during this show.
Oh, no. I'm going to be pissed because I got a big future and I'm excited. But listen, I don't care if you did 4 lines and you drank a handle of vodka. I want you on here.
A handle of vodka. There we go. That'd be good.
We'll have some fun here either way. Thanks, guys, as always. Thanks to the listeners. Thanks to all of you. Look for the baseball show. And until next time, we are the College Basketball Roundtable. Everyone enjoy the game tonight. Before we go, who are we taking tonight, guys? Who are you picking?
I got Meeks over 11.5 rebounds at plus money at 5 dimes.
That's Drew Martin, pick of the day. Meeks over 11.5 rebounds. Ed Feng, do you have a play?
I kind of like Jordan Matthews' first 3-pointer of the game, and I wouldn't bet it, but I think I favor North Carolina by a slight.
Come on, Ed. Ed, you're killing me.
Dude, I love Gonzaga, but I've said it since the beginning of the tournament. This is the one team I would not pick them against.
All right. Ian Cameron, you mentioned you hated this game from a betting perspective. Do you have anything?
Lean Gonzaga, but lean only.
Gun to your head.
Gun to my head. Yep. You
don't pick it, I'm going to blow your head off. That's who you take. All right. And Donnie Rightside, the man, the myth, the legend.
Yeah, I'm going to be rooting. I don't have a side or a total yet on this game. Still haven't decided that one, but I will be rooting for Gonzaga. But 2 prop bets that will be in play for me tonight. Over under on Justin Jackson 3-point field goals made, over 2.5. I'll go. And also, I'm going to double down with Drew there. Instead of taking the rebounds with Kennedy Meeks, I'm going to go over 13.5 points for the big man.
All right. And
I think those are correlated because, like Ed was saying earlier, a lot of his points are come right there around the basket. So
exactly. We had in the previous game, one of my favorite bets was Kennedy Meeks over. I believe it was 22.5 points and rebounds, and he shattered that. So I'm going to ride the hot hand with that one.
And by the way, guys, before we go, we already had a bullpen meltdown first day. San Francisco Giants. What a surprise. All right, guys, we're out of here. Check out SBR Odds for all your odds. Check out Sportsbook Review, best in the business at putting out quality information. We will see you next year. Have a great day and enjoy the game. Bye-bye.